Hi there and welcome to the second video of this training series of how to use the 0 to 8 Flex S24. So today on this video we're going to go through the settings of the desk, so everything that's in the setup section of the desk. So I'm just going to power on this desk and we'll have to wait a second because it doesn't like turning on. It takes a good minute to turn on. As you see, it does its little party thing, and I will come back to you once it's turned on. Right, okay, the desk is finally turned on, so we can take you through. So this is the setup menu here, pressing setup, so your default screen is this, pressing setup takes you to this screen. So the first thing that comes up is fixture schedule. So this is all fixtures that are patched into the desk. Your channel number, which are these numbers here, so this is a channel. The name of that, so you can change the names, and then change your profile, so that is your fixture profile that the desk is going off. You also have the DMX address here, so that's that one. Add fixtures. This is where you patch stuff in. So this is your patch window. This is patching lights into the desk, which I will take you through in the next video. So the next one is save. Now this is where you save your show file or anything you've done to a USB stick up there. Obviously there's nothing right in there right now, and I'm not on a show file right now. So that's why there's nothing really to save to. No destination devices. There are advanced options here, so you want to always have that on 0 show file, so all 0 desks can read that. Now save options, you can either save a complete show, so everything, palettes, everything, palettes, fixtures, queues, everything, or you can save setup only, so only these and your patched fixtures, and you can save setup, so your rig that you've patched in, so and palettes, so you can have your color, position, movement, whatever palettes, but generally we just want a complete show, so I wouldn't touch them. And then obviously the main save button there. So if we go to load, if you had a USB plugged in, you would have it shown up here. If there was any, see it's glitching and doing weird things now. If there was something plugged in, it would show what was on that USB stick, and then you could load that show file that was on the USB stick, which is what I do for shows at school. I'd make it at home, bring it in, plug it in, I go to the screen and I load that show file, and then it works. And then the main settings window here. So the desk name here is, I've named it Parkhouse School Flex S24, because, well, that's what it is. Now there's a security pin, so you can lock the desk. So if you click on that, you've got to go through, it's like changing a password on an iPhone or something like that. But I would deter from doing that, just generally because someone will eventually forget that, and then you won't be able to really get into the desk, which is not a great thing. It's an expensive desk. So the next one is display. So there we go. Display, so LCD settings. So this screen here, brightness at 100. Just keep it at that. You don't need anything different. Operational. So this is multifunction fader, MFF, window playback action. So all of this here is when you're in playbacks, this screen changes to be your playbacks, and you can, once you bring one of these faders up, you can either enter setup of that fader or match button action, which if you press that it would then go into setup, but set fader level, it will show what level that the fader is at on the playbacks. I'm really waffling, that doesn't really make much sense, but you shouldn't need to adjust that ever, so it doesn't really matter that much. No, auto select channels is when you're in channels and you bring up a group of faders, it will automatically select those lights. It will not only bring their intensities up, it will select those lights, so then you can change stuff about them rather than having to go through and then individually select them. But again, that's not something that you need to touch or do anything with generally. Page handover, I've never worked out what that means. I've played around with it and nothing's ever really changed, so if I don't use it, then I don't think we really need to use it. So it will be in the manual online, so if you really want to know, then go look it up, but I've never used it. So channel mix mode is here, so high stakes precedence or latest takes precedence. So let's say you have let's say if this was in playbacks and you had 2 playbacks here, let's say, and this one had your front wash and this one had your side wash, but let's say this front wash had 2 sides in as well as this one here. So there is a set of lights that are shared between them. So if you had this fade up at let's say 50% there, but those 2 lights you wanted at full there, the highest takes precedence. This is the highest that it is, but because these lights are in there, it's going to go to that level. And when you bring it past that level, the light's going to go, whoop, nope, I'm going to be controlled by this one. So as soon as it goes past that level, right, those 2 lights that are in here as well are going to be controlled by this. And then, nope, they're going to jump back over to this one, if that kind of makes sense. There's a lot of videos online on YouTube of how that works. So if I'm not explaining it very well, then go look at that. Laser take precedence is, which, right, this one's going to control it now. Oh, but I've touched this one now, so it's going to bring it back down and it's going to control this one. So it's the last one you touched is the one that's going to control it. But like I said, there's a lot of videos online of how that works. So if I'm not explaining that very well, I'm sorry. But yeah, so that's that one. It's the attributes window. You've got an option to always display intensity encoder. So this basically, on this one here, on the little screen here, it will have an intensity encoder. So once you've selected a light or something, brought it, you can additionally control it by an encoder. I found that to be quite annoying because some lights takes up all 4. And then you have to go through and find it again because the intensity's taken up 1. So I've got that disabled. Attribute specific settings, so I'm not going to go into it because there's quite a bit on there. Only thing you really need to know is the wheel sensitivity. So this is the sensitivity of this wheel is at 50, and I find that's fine. So the rest of it, if you really want to know how to use it, then this section, then go into the manual online and work that one out because it's kind of complicated. There is on the only one that I've changed is the position for pressing shift and fanning fixtures around. But like I say, you don't need to worry about that. So the mouse control and pan and tilt is if you have a mouse connected and you've got the grid, so you can control the pan and tilt, the grid with the cross. So the mouse control can then control that, and that's enabled if we control the mouse. Record and update, show record. Again, that's not really that important other than the tracking options. So Q only and just enabled. I've got it just on enabled. So basically tracking is where, for an example, an effect will track through the desk, and the only way to put that in is to put a block in, but this desk doesn't have that. You just got to get rid of the effect in that specific queue. It can be annoying, but it can be quite useful. But then again, I'm not going to go into it anymore because generally you don't need to worry about it. Defaults is just your defaults. When you record something, it's going to, the default time, 3 seconds, fade up, fade down, and delay times, and then default settings. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. So universes, like I said in the other video, is that this desk can control, if I can scroll down, this desk can control a hell of a lot of universes. And now a universe is, 64 universes this can control. So a universe is 512 channels of DMX. Now, a single DMX cable can only transmit 512 DMX channels. So that is what a universe is. But again, another thing, everything in Parkhouse just runs off one universe. So again, that's another thing that we don't really need to go into detail in. DMX, obviously the output of DMX, like I said, with the things on the back that you plug your DMX cables into, obviously always have that enabled because otherwise you're not going to be able to output any data. Streaming ACN and ArtNet are just ways to output DMX over internet, or a data network. I won't go into it. That's that internet port on the back. If you connect it to the router, then that's on the network, and then you have a special thing called DMX node, which connects to the network, and then you can output your DMX from there. But again, you don't really need to know how to use that if you're a Parkhouse, so that's fine. RDM, remote device management. So if you have a more up-to-date fixture, you can basically control all the settings of that fixture from the desk, which normally you can't do. So you can change the address, you can change anything, and it will discover the fixtures that are connected, and you can patch that in wherever you want. But again, I'm not going to go into that because we don't use that. Underneath here we have devices, remote apps. This is the one where I said it on the phone app with the router. Obviously enabled because it can be useful. The password right now is Dylan, my name, but obviously change that as you want. And then these IP addresses, just keep them as they are. These are just IP addresses, so once you connect it to your phone, you can connect to the desk, and you can know that this is the desk you're trying to connect to. Clear options is just factory resetting the desk and all that, and you can upgrade the desk. This is how you upgrade it to output more universes, but like I say, outputting more universes is just, I think, pretty useless on this desk because you can only control 48 fixtures. But that is the settings menu. I've gone quite fast, so any questions, this is going on YouTube, so just put it in the comments below, and I will try and answer them if there's any questions on this part. But that's that. The next video is going to be explaining my rig, and I'm going to patch some lights in my room so you can see how the desk is actually used in a room. But yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.